There are people who watch me daily and they usually tell me, hey, Joseph, you're doing an amazing job. And I'm wondering, Joseph, I do not have a lot of money to invest. And I usually wonder, this type of ideas and important information that I usually share with us, it feels like, requires like a hefty amount of money to invest. I'm just a hustler, or as we call it in Kenya, I'm just mkulima mdogo, meaning like, just small farmer, doing somewhere and all those kind of things. Like, neza fanya jo, what exactly can I do for me to be able to invest? And today I'm going to break that myth of you believing or thinking that you ought or you need a lot of money to invest out there. And guess what I've just done on my board? I've actually divided this into three categories. We have the small, the medium, and the large. And I know you're like, what are you driving at? Fine. So if you want to find out what I mean by these 2 3 points, do this, okay? By the way, I do post a video each and every time. And by the way, I don't charge you anything to watch my videos. The only thing I want in favor as a return from you guys, and I know you are wonderful people and you have the internet and you got 1 second to do so, okay? There is a small button written subscribe just down below there. Please don't ignore it. Just hit that like button, like this video, all right? And also subscribe down below there. I know you're like, why should I do that? If I ignore and go, we won't even know. Yes, I will know. Yeah, I will know. Just subscribe. You'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. So let's get into the business. Okay, fine. Now I know you're asking yourself, like, okay, fine. I do not have like a lot of money and I want to invest. Can there be something that I can be able to do with as small as I have? And it's the correct answer is yes and yes. And it's not complicated to invest. Now remember one thing. There is everything in terms of investment. There is three versions of it. There is a small version of it. There is a medium version of it. And there is a big version of it. For example, let's start here, okay? Somebody can actually start a simple cosmetic or maybe a salon. Let's take an example of a cosmetic. Like a small cosmetic may be worth like 30,000, 35,000, okay? Depends on where you're located. You can just buy yourself some few things and get a small makeup place and you're selling your cosmetics. 35,000, you can do so at 35K. There's a cosmetic that you can do so maybe at a 200 or maybe let's say 100 to, let's say 100K to something like 300, all right? And then there is a cosmetics worth millions and above, okay? So what you're supposed to understand is this depends on what you have, then you can be able to start this. If there's someone who is operating a cosmetics worth 35,000 or a salon or a small butchery, there's somebody who somewhere, but if you come from Kenya, you understand what I'm saying. There is somebody somewhere selling mituras, smocha, smokies and what have you, and that guy only has a capital of 35,000, even way less. For example, this trolley of selling smochas and what have you cost like well, it used to be cost 13,000 back when I was in campus. I bet that right now is close to 20,000 if I'm not wrong. You can correct me guys on the comment section. And the guy goes and takes a budget of maybe let's say 5,000, buys yourself smokies, sausages, the chapatis and what have you. And the guy is doing the business. So, and there is another person who is doing the same business on an upgraded version. The guy is selling this muchas, has a stall somewhere. He has the freezers, deep fryers and what have you. He or she is selling these things in a little bit of a higher notch compared to the previous one. And then we have a processing farms, okay? I don't want to mention the names. You have the processing farm, which are bringing forth this kind of assets. And also they have the lorries and the transports and what. Like there is always three versions of any given business out there. So what you're supposed to understand is this, and never despise your amount of money. And I'm going to give you a very simple example. Right now, as you are making this video, as I am talking and as you're listening and watching at the same time, there is somebody who is looking. You won't believe it. Person is only looking for only 300 Kenyan shillings today, right now. 300 Kenyan shillings right now as we speak. You know what they are doing? They are selling fruits. They are selling they're selling fruits. These guys, and guess what happens? They show up in a market with their 300 Kenyan shillings, sometimes way less than 300 Kenyan shillings. They take the 300 Kenyan shillings and then they buy fruits. Once they buy the fruits, then they hawk around from the construction sites to plots to people residential areas and what have you. And then they make a profit of 200 out of this amount of money. And by the way, I don't know whether you guys you've realized this kind of a thing. The more you invest less, you tend to get like more amount of money compared to the ratio of what you invested. Am I making sense? Like, for example, if you invest 300, you take 300, buy fruits and sell them. You can hear those guys telling you, hey, I made 200 out of the 300. It's like that amount of money is actually close to 100% of whatever they invested. And you can get somebody who is investing a million bob, and then they get like 50,000 out of their million bob. You get what I'm saying? Okay, now the point is this. Whatever amount of money that you have out there, there's somebody who is looking for 300 to start a business. There's somebody who is looking 1,500 to start a business. There's somebody who is looking for 2,000 to start a business. For example, tell me these guys who usually sell coffee at the evening, you only need to have that dispenser, maybe cost you like 1,400. and then with 200 or 300 you have yourself water, it's in plenty, okay? And then you get buy yourself some few sachets of a coffee, you buy a few sachets, or if you buy a few pieces of lemons, and this what do we call them, this disposable cups, and then maybe you buy yourself a 2 kg whatever flour, you make yourself some dough there, you make some mandazis or maybe some kangumus and what have you, and then you hook around. At the evening you have your 400, you have your 600, you have 1,000 bob. With some isolated cases, there are people who make that amount of money. So the point is this: if you keep on looking and arguing from the point of, hey, I have to get myself a lot of money for me to start a business, I don't know what I can be able to do. You see, it's always good not to complain. Sometimes it's good to shut. It's okay. When you realize you have less money, just accept, but don't appreciate. When you accept, you say, hey, guess what? I do have 1,500, with nothing else. In Kenya, we say, mbele na nyuma. You have 1,500, you have 2,000, you have 10,000, you have 100,000. Depends on that what you have. Now, ask yourself, okay, fine. Before I even think of whatever, and what can I do with what I have as of now, as I'm praying, as I'm doing the best I can to make sure that I add more on whatever I have. So if you can find a way of what you can do with what you have at hand, then you start solving the problem as small, as little as you can, as you progress to the next level. And guess what? Have you ever heard of cases of people who started a business way small out there, and therefore they actually amassed themselves like big investments? These people, they know the nitty-gritties of that given enterprise or that given businesses. So it's always good to make sure that, hey, you understand that what you have. That was about businesses. How about investments? Because those are two different things, and people tend to sort of confuse them and think like, hey, they kind of mean the same. No. When we talk about businesses and when we talk about investments, we mean totally two different things. Let me just shed a little bit of light to you. So when I talk about businesses, when I talk about investments, businesses involves high risk and high returns. Investments involves low risk and low returns. So let's talk about investments, okay? So investments in this regard, you find like, hey, there's some things that you can be able to invest as low as you can. For example, let's talk about MMF. I know you have ever heard of me talking about MMF, okay? MMF, you can start with some MMF companies, you can actually start with as low as 100 Kenyan shillings, okay? As low as 100 Kenyan shillings. I repeat, as low as 100 Kenyan shillings. Meaning, if you are sort of employed somewhere, maybe you get your salary daily, maybe you're a fundi, maybe you're a juakali person, work in cottage industries, maybe let's say you work in soko, we mean like the markets and what have you, your salary, you get it daily. So you can actually take your 100 bob channel towards an MMF. MMF, for those who do not know, it's a mutual fund. Okay, it's a mutual fund or unit trust whereby you can channel that money each and every time. Instead of saving this money in chamas and what have you, these are best areas because actually the profit is realized each and every day. Yeah, I know this information you guys didn't know, but hey, thank God, we are all here to help each other, just like an iron sharpens another iron. That's why I keep on telling you, if you don't want to miss any of my good videos in the future, don't ignore the subscription button. Just hit it. Doesn't hurt, it is free, it doesn't cost you anything, and like this video, okay? Now, let's continue. See, now that's one area that you can actually channel your money. The other area that you can put your money into is actually shares. And I know when I say shares, people are like, hey, but that's for the wealthy, that's for the rich. I cannot be able to afford it. I'm just a simple mama mboga. I'm selling ice cream and whatever. No. You can afford. By the way, if I tell you how much you need to buy the minimum number of shares in KPLC, you'll be shocked. Yeah, it's less than 300 Kenyan shillings. What? Yeah, less than 300 Kenyan shillings. Can you imagine that? You can buy shares of the minimum in the KPLC and what have you. So those are the areas that you ought to look at too. So you can actually buy shares worth like all the way from 300 Kenyan shillings to millions of money, and billions perhaps if you have the billions, okay? So the point is, or trillions. By the way, I cannot despise, maybe you have a lot of money. So you can buy all the way from 300,000 to millions of money and trillions and billions and whatever amount of money. So the point is this: pick a thing that will work for you. If you love stocks, if you love shares, pick a thing for you. And you're like, okay, fine. Sounds amazing, Joseph, but I don't know nothing about shares. That's why I always tell you, there is my number on the description of this specific video. Why? Why my number? Pick that number. I have a already written booklet about shares. It has all the information about shares. Explains everything step by step. What is a share? What do you need to buy a share? How do you buy a share? How do you earn with a share? How do you dispose your share? How about all those kind of things? I've actually shared all that information for you on that booklet. Pick it up, read it, get yourself some information. Now, the other thing that you can actually invest if you do not have a lot of money, it's actually areas like rates. Okay, rates with as low as 700 Kenyan shillings, you can actually invest in rates. Rates, I said, they are real estate investment trust. Okay, let me shed a little bit of light on that. It's like buying shares for the companies that invest in real estate. What do I mean again? Fine, let me just take you slowly. Have you ever thought of investing in real estate? And then you remember like, oh my goodness, real estate requires millions of money to invest. You need to buy a piece of land, you build, and all those kind of things. Now, can you imagine this? There is a company somewhere or companies somewhere, they are doing exactly that. They already have the manpower, they have the equipment, they have the architecture, the engineers, the plans, the everything that you think of when you need to come up with a structure. Now, these companies, they tell you, bring your money as low as 700 Kenyan shillings, bring your money, we take your cash, we go build these amazing buildings, the commercial estate, real estates, and everything and anything related to real estate. And then once we lend them, we sort of sell them, and then you can actually do what? Be able to make money out of it. We pay you the returns that we get. Yeah, I know that sounds like, what? Does it exist? Yeah, it exists. It's called rates, and you can actually invest as low as 700 Kenyan shillings. And by the way, if you're looking forward to getting more information about rates, I have that booklet about rates. It talks about everything on rates and what you need to actually buy and invest in these rates kind of things. Okay. Now, these are just but examples of the areas where you can actually invest as low as you can, but it's not an exclusive. It does not mean it's the only areas where you can be able to invest. There are other variety of places where you can be able to invest as low as you can. Because when I say low, I don't know you are low. I went to this low. Maybe your low is to invest 50,000. You can invest on treasury bonds, 50,000. You can do so. FXD, that's fixed deposit treasury bonds. You can invest, maybe your low is 100K. You can invest in areas like treasury bills. Maybe your low is also, because you see, when I say MMF shares and rates means that you can invest this amount of money, it does not really mean that this is the only amount of money that you can invest. If you have your 100,000, 200, 300 millions, whatever, you can actually pick and invest in these specific areas of investments. And the other variety of areas where as well you can be able to invest, like circles. If you pick a circle of, a better circle out there that you can invest your money, continuously, you can be able to do something. So the point is this: don't despise that amount of money that you have out there. Don't feel like, hey, it is the only money, I cannot be able to invest, I have to accumulate it and reach. No. Unless maybe you have a goal of saying, hey, guess what, right now as you speak, I have 30,000. I'm looking forward into getting 100,000, therefore I can be able to do XYZ. There's no problem with that. So you're saving that money with a goal. You are goal oriented. That way, there is no problem with that. But if you're sitting somewhere thinking like, hey, guess what, I ought to have myself a lot of money for me to invest, that's not the case. Let me just break that myth and tell you, you can invest as little as you can as you progress to the next level. And I always like to tell people, and let me part ways with this kind of a thing. There's something called control the controllables. If something is beyond your control, don't let it like affect you. The only thing the only way it should be affecting you, it's actually ask yourself, how can I do it better than the way I'm doing it? Because I actually have people usually get themselves into depression, stresses, and what have you, just in the name of, hey, they really need to get something, but they have not gotten yet there, so they get stresses. No, you aren't supposed to do that. Do that. Make sure that at least you pick that what you can control, the controllables, and those things that you cannot be able to control, just leave them away and move to the next level. Hey, guess what, guys? If you would like to get a hold of me, always pick my number from the description of this specific video. Shoot me a call. We can have business talk at a personal level, obviously at a cup of coffee's price. And again, don't forget to like the video, comment down below, tell me what you think, because I'm a believer, just like an iron sharpens another iron. So do we learn from each other? For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.